I want to talk about Ben Stokes and get it all finished, get it off my chest. So some people will agree, some people will disagree, some people will love him, he can do no wrong and he leaves a fantastic legacy. I'm not one of them people, I've got to say. And another thing that concerns me is what the younger cricketers are learning. You know, imagine you're an 18-year-old now, you're watching England, you're dreaming of playing Test cricket. What messages are you getting? Attack every ball, hit yourself out of trouble, you know, don't value your wicket, never change your approach. I don't think that's healthy for developing cricketers. Young players need to learn every skill. How to defend, how to leave, rotate the strike, how to accelerate. Can you absorb pressure? Can you create pressure? Do you have that mental toughness? Test cricket demands all of those things, not just one. You know, let's think about the Ashes. For the England supporters, there is no bigger series, is there? Every decision England make, we should have one eye on winning the Ashes back. Not just competing, but actually winning. Australia don't care about England's entertainment value. They won't care about how many boundaries England hit in an innings. They'll simply want to beat England. That is all that matters. During this stream, we're obviously going to cover the cricket, but I want to talk about Ben Stokes. I'm not happy with him. Not just Ben Stokes, Joe Root and Harry Brook actually. Not happy with any of them. Before I get into this, I know there's going to be people watching who they'll completely disagree with everything I'm going to say. And that's absolutely fine. You know, cricket is a game of opinions really. So I'll let you have mine. And yeah, while we've got a chance, let's start the conversation about Ben Stokes. You know, one of the great things about sport, two people can watch exactly the same match and come away with completely different conclusions. So today I'll give you my opinion. If you disagree, that's brilliant. Let me know in live chat. Tell me why in the comments or the live chat, because I enjoy reading and listening to different viewpoints. And yeah, while we've got a chance, let's carry on talking about Ben Stokes. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Live chat is open. Agree, disagree. But after watching England over the last few years, I've reached a conclusion, and I know many won't like it. I don't believe Bazball has been good for English Test cricket. I think it's taken England away from many of the values that made Test cricket the greatest format in the world. Yeah, I think Bazball's taken away from England's Test cricket ability. And I know some of you will disagree, but I'm pretty sure you're wrong. It's brought something new to what England can do in a Test match. Don't disagree there. But what it's brought to the game, it's definitely taken away as well. We saw that against New Zealand. I don't know if you've just joined me, but I'm just going to start talking about Ben Stokes and his legacy and how I think Bazball has ruined England's Test ability. It's added something to what they can do in Test matches, but overall, I think it's a negative. Talking to Harry Brook at the minute, aren't they? But they said they're surveying all their options, and if we have Harry Brook as England captain, it will be the worst decision we've made since making Ben Stokes captain. I think it has taken away from England as a Test team. That whole Bazball era, entertaining, yeah. It's not always what's needed, is it? Sometimes you need to score 20 and bat for 5 hours. So yeah, Bazball ruining Test cricket for England. People say, yeah, Jimmy, England have won matches, and yeah, they have. You can't deny that. It's a fact. They've produced some remarkable victories. They've also chased some huge totals. And they've played what some will say, they'll call it fearless. They've played fearless cricket, England. That's what people will call it. They've entertained the crowds. Is that why they did it? To bring the crowds back to Test match cricket? Because the younger generations, they want to see action, don't they? They want to see the ball flying out of the stadium or run-outs, or is that why it was brought in? To bring Test match cricket back to the masses? Because T20 cricket is a huge hit. There's no denying that. Daz Reynolds in live chat says, I think Root or Brook will be Test captain. Mate, I hope Root has no Test future for England as of now. He's 35 years old. He's not particularly playing well now. You look back at his innings. He's still part of this Bazball era, which is fine. put him in the T20 squad. But when you think next year, when we play the Aussies in the Ashes, he's going to be 36. And Father Time catches up with all of us, and he's not the future. So yeah, this fearless cricket, I think a lot of people thought that's what was needed. But for me, entertainment has never been the primary purpose of Test cricket. It was straight back over the bowler's head. Well hit. Is it caught in the crowd? There's a one-handed catch. He's dropped it, and then it hits him in the forehead. Unlucky, mate. Unlucky. Good attempt with one hand. Yeah, Daz, I think Root and Brook are part of the Bazball era, and that needs rooting out, no pun intended. Live chat. Daz Reynolds says, I think Root or Brook will be Test captain. Yeah, I spoke about that before. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, for me, when it comes to Test cricket, entertainment has never been the primary purpose of it. So yeah, going back to Test cricket and England and Ben Stokes, for me, entertainment's never been what purely Test cricket was about. Winning should be, good decision making should be, adapting to conditions should be, batting time should be, bowling patiently should be, making the opposition earn every run. That's what Test cricket is all about. Those are the qualities that made Test cricket the ultimate examination of a cricketer. Kind of lost that. Making the opposition earn every run, that's what it's all about. These are the qualities, like I said, they were the true examination of a cricketer. Could they keep going and concentrating? 5 days of cricket, it takes some doing. Over the last few years, I think England have started treating Test cricket almost like an extended one-day international, and that's not what it is. And sometimes it works brilliantly, but sometimes it's been an absolute disaster. And I don't think that's the right direction for English cricket. I just don't. Now, the thing that really made me want to make this conversation, it's not about Bazball. Speaking about Bazball, Harry Brook's just played that one over the wicket-keeper's head. It's flown for 6. Looks good in one-day cricket, but if you do that in a Test match and you get bowled out, you look a right plum. Yeah, I don't want to make today's chat about Bazball. I'm thinking more about Ben Stokes and his retirement announcement, because for me, I just couldn't believe it. As Reynolds says, do I think Jacks plays against Pakistan? I think he's got to, mate. I think he's got to. Is he going to be the new Ben Stokes, the new all-rounder? We know he can bat. We know he can bowl. I wonder if he'd be a good captain. I don't want Harry Brook, or I don't want Harry Brook, that's for sure. Yeah, Ben Stokes, it suddenly became about him when he came on to bowl, or whenever he took the ball to bowl. Suddenly every television channel, every newspaper, every social media platform, all suddenly became about Ben Stokes. Not England, not the opposition, not the Test match. All about Ben Stokes. Not right. Single off the last ball of a long over due to the wides. Players are going to have a drink. England 120 for 1. They need 39 from 60 deliveries. I think me and you would get them, Daz. Especially the way the Indians are bowling. So yeah, the Test match was still live. Let the cricket be the story. Then, once the match is over, give Ben Stokes all the recognition that he deserves. That, to me, would have respected both the player and the game itself. Instead, I just felt that the spotlight shifted away from the contest onto the individual. And maybe some people loved that, but people in the crowd, they were lapping it up. But I didn't. I've got to say, I just didn't. One of the things I love most about Test cricket is that it's bigger than any individual player. You know, when you look back about all of the great players that there's been, Ben Stokes is not that special. Go back through the history of time of cricket. Stokes is just another player who's done well. Not like he's done anything unique. So I didn't get it. You know, players, they come and go. Legends, they retire eventually. And new stars, they emerge. But the game, it continues. It's kind of, the king is dead, long live the king. That's what makes Test cricket so special. And it is still special, you know. The Ashes, it's massive, isn't it? So Test match cricket, it's not dead. Badge that they're playing for, the players, it should always be bigger than the name and the number on the shirt, or the name in Test cricket. That's how I've always looked at sport. And that's why the timing of that announcement, it just disappointed me. Then, we had what happened with the batting. When Ben Stokes walked out to open the innings, I've got to admit, I just sat there shaking my head. I couldn't believe it. Not because I don't think he's talented. You know, of course he is, or he was, or he is. He's one of the most naturally gifted cricketers England have produced. I was shaking my head because I felt it completely summed up what England have become under Stokes and Bazball. Instead of asking what gives us the best chance of winning this Test match, it felt more like what creates the biggest talking point. And maybe that's a little bit unfair. Maybe the management genuinely believed it gave England the best chance. But from where I was sitting, it just looked symbolic. Self-grandising, if that's the word. As Reynolds, what grounds are the Ashes at next year? Oh mate, you're opening up a can of worms there. You're opening up a big can of worms. These Indian fielders, they're in complete disarray. Right, Daz, are you ready, mate? The venues are Edgbaston, Lords, Trent Bridge, Southampton and the Oval. So we're not going to have Headingley and Old Trafford. Absolutely appalling. Appalling decision. Headingley and Old Trafford, they're going to return in 2031. But for next year's Ashes, there's no northern grounds that are going to hold an event. No doubt it'll come down to money or there'll be something. Not in the interest of cricket for the fans, that. Salt's on 42, Brook's on 64. In India, they couldn't find their arse with both hands at the minute in the field. So what are your thoughts, Daz, on them venues for the Ashes series next year? I think it's appalling. I don't understand the thinking of it. When you look at the history of the Ashes at Headingley and Old Trafford, and suddenly they're not in, there's no northern venues in that Ashes series, it's got to be about money, or there's got to be something other than, well, we're just not going to go to Headingley and Manchester. We're going to keep everything down south. The furthest north they're going to go is Trent Bridge. Tell you what, we're not seeing much of tonight. The Indian fans in the crowd got nothing to cheer about, that's for sure. So, Daz Reynolds in live chat, in respect of the venues for the Ashes next season, he says, I would have had Lords, Edgbaston, Old Trafford, maybe Headingley or Trent Bridge instead of Southampton and the Oval. I wouldn't disagree with you, mate. The only thing is, you need at least Old Trafford or Headingley. You need to have one of the venues up north. Does it smack of elitism in cricket? Test cricket? There's a little bit of that in there, mate. Yeah, so going back to Ben Stokes, when they made the announcement, it just created talking points, and maybe it's a little bit unfair, like I said, but maybe the management, if they thought that was the best way forward, good on them. But why? How often has Ben Stokes opened the batting for England? It was just symbolic, that's all it was. It looked like entertainment had become part of the selection process with Ben Stokes. You know, that's something I've struggled with all throughout this Bazball era. And it's been going on for a long time, and it's been spoke about. You know, in the early days of Bazball, it was mentioned that is it going to bleed into Test match cricket, and will muscle memory become a problem for? And it has done. I think it's taken away the ability for batsmen to dig in for long spells. They just don't have the mental fortitude now to do it. 18 required from 45 deliveries. Lads, get your pads on. We'll finish these off. Anybody who's listening this, and you think it's just a criticism of Ben Stokes, it isn't. I don't doubt his commitment. I don't doubt his courage. And I don't doubt his desire to win. You know, Ben Stokes, he's given everything for England at times. You know, he's played through injuries. He's inspired his teammates. He's produced some of the greatest moments in English cricket history, no doubt of that. It's not up for debate. But being a great player, it doesn't automatically mean every decision you make as a captain is the right one. Great players, they don't always become great captains. Great captains don't always leave the game in a better place than they found it. That's why I think we have to separate Ben Stokes, the cricketer, from Ben Stokes, the captain. That just went up in the air over the bowler and over the fielder's head. England are having the luck as well now, not that they need it. When you need the luck, you don't get it. In a game like this, where you're absolutely pounding the Indians, you get a bit of luck as well. So yeah, I think we separate Ben Stokes there from the player and the captain. For me, they're two different conversations. Well, that was just creamed back over Arshdeep's head for 6. Lovely shot there from Harry Brook. He moves on to 78. Yeah, we need to separate Stokes the player and Stokes the captain. For me, the biggest issue has never been aggression. I love aggressive cricket. I like positive cricket. If there's a chance to put pressure on the opposition, take it. If the bowling is poor, attack, then attack it. If they spread the field, rotate the strike. There's nothing wrong with positive cricket. But positive cricket isn't the same as reckless cricket, and that's what we saw. Well, how easy was that for England? That's the series wrapped up now. England have won by 9 wickets. Nice and easy. So yeah, before I'll close this stream, I want to talk about Ben Stokes and get it all finished, get it off my chest. And some people will agree, some people will disagree, some people will love him, he can do no wrong and he leaves a fantastic legacy. I'm not one of them people, I've got to say. So there's a busy time coming up for cricket between England and India. These players will be getting tired out. I can hear all the hod carriers and all the labourers on the building sites laughing when I say that. They've got a point as well. I think the 50 overs, the one days, they're going to be a little bit more competitive than these T20s. But India, they look like a side that's struggling at the minute, not playing well at all. So yeah, going back to Ben Stokes, nothing wrong with positive cricket, but when it becomes reckless, that's where I've got a problem. That's where I think England have crossed the line too often. Test cricket, it's always been about reading situations. Sometimes you attack, sometimes you defend, sometimes you grind. We do not have the ability to grind anymore as a test team. We don't have the ability to just survive. Sometimes the greatest innings aren't the quick ones. I go back to Chris Tavare when he batted all day for something like 3. Obviously that's not right, but he batted a long time for not many runs, and that's what was needed at the time. Don't get out. Sometimes they're the ones where the batsman will spend 4 hours simply refusing to get out. Who in this England team could do that now? I can't think of anyone. Duckett's not going to do it as an opener. Gay, we're not too sure of yet what he's going to be. That's what separates it from every other format. That's what Test cricket is special. Yet under Bazball, it feels like England have decided there's only one way to play Test cricket. The same way that you play T20 and you play the one-day internationals. Attack, attack, attack. That's all they do, no matter what the conditions are, no matter what the match situation is, no matter what the scoreboard says. Attack. Now, occasionally, it works brilliantly. And when England chase down a huge total, everyone says, look how exciting Test cricket can be. And they're right, it is exciting. But what happens when it doesn't work? Suddenly, you've thrown away wickets, you've handed momentum to the opposition, you've put your bowlers under enormous pressure, and you've made the game much harder than it needed to be. And also, you're making a 5-day match, it's over within 2-3 days. That happens so often now, it never used to. One of the greatest qualities in Test cricket has always been patience. Patience, it isn't boring. Patience can win Test matches. Think about some of the great Test innings ever played. Many of them, they weren't spectacular. Many weren't full of sixes. They were full of concentration, discipline, judgment. Look at some of Graham Gooch's biggest innings. Leaving balls outside the off stump. Wear the bowlers down, let them tire themselves out, get that new ball out of the way. Making the opposition bowl 100 overs just to get you out. That is mental toughness. That's what Test cricket rewards. And I worry that England's current philosophy doesn't place enough value on those qualities anymore. Instead, everything seems geared towards entertainment. Now, I know why. Modern sport is competing with everything else. You've got streaming services, football, social media, TikTok. People's attention spans are shorter than they've ever been. The cricket administrators, they know that. You know, the television companies, they know that. Everybody wants highlights. Everybody wants sixes. Everybody's just craving excitement. You know, and I understand that, but you've got T20 and the one-day internationals for that. It doesn't have to be in Test cricket. Should England's Test team be responsible for entertaining people? Or should it be responsible for winning Test matches? For me, winning comes first. Entertainment is a bonus. If England win because they batted, let's say, intelligently, then I'm happy. If England grind out a draw from an impossible position, I'm happy. Think about some of the excitement in the past where matches have been drawn. They've been absolutely riveting and it's finished in a draw. If England can survive 2 sessions to save a test, I'm quite happy because that's what Test cricket is. Sometimes survival is just as impressive as victory. But today, a draw almost feels like a defeat. And I don't agree with that at all. Some of the greatest Test matches in history have finished as draws. And why is that? Well, you've got 2 outstanding teams who refuse to give in. There is absolutely nothing wrong with earning a draw when circumstances demand it. Not every match has to end with fireworks. And another thing that concerns me is what the younger cricketers are learning. You know, imagine you're an 18-year-old now, you're watching England, you're dreaming of playing Test cricket. What messages are you getting? Attack every ball, hit yourself out of trouble, you know, don't value your wicket, never change your approach. I don't think that's healthy for developing cricketers. Young players need to learn every skill. How to defend, how to leave, rotate the strike, how to accelerate. Can you absorb pressure? Can you create pressure? Do you have that mental toughness? Test cricket demands all of those things, not just one. I've always believed the very best players are adaptable. They can score at 5 runs and over when conditions allow it. They can also bat for 3 hours for 50 runs when conditions demand it. That's greatness, not simply swinging from the hip and every innings. And that's where I think England have drifted away from traditional Test cricket. Now, I know many will disagree. You'll say, Jimmy, England have brought people back to Test cricket, and that's a good thing. And maybe they have. You know, crowds are bigger, interest has increased, people are talking about Test cricket again, and that's fantastic for the game. But here's my question. Have they made England a better Test side? Or have they simply made England a more entertaining Test side? Because they're not the same thing. I'd rather watch England become the Test team, the best Test team in the world, again, than simply become the most entertaining. Winning consistently over 5 days should always be the objective. Entertainment is just a byproduct. You know, we've got it the other way around at the minute. Now, I just want to move quickly onto something that's going to be, this is controversial as well. I'm not doing it on purpose, but it just is, but they're just my thoughts. Before I say anything, I just want to make it clear. Joe Root, one of England's greatest ever batsmen, there's no argument about that. His record speaks for itself, you know, the runs passing over 14,000, the centuries, the consistency over many years, the difficult innings when England were in trouble. He's been a magnificent servant for English cricket. Nobody can take that away from him. But here's a question I want to ask him, or ask you, the viewers. At what point does a great player become yesterday's great player? That's one of the hardest decisions every sporting nation has to make. Because every great player reaches the end. Nobody escapes Father Time. Not Sachin Tendulkar. Not Ricky Ponting, Alistair Cook, James Anderson, Stuart Broad. You know, you can go back to Michael Olding, Joe Garner, Curtly Ambrose. Eventually, every legend, they've got to walk away. The difficult part isn't recognising greatness. I think the difficult part is recognising when it's time to begin planning for life after greatness. Now, this is where many fans, they become emotional. They'll say, oh, you can't drop Joe Root, he's earned the right to decide. Class is permanent. Well, maybe you're right. But international sport, it's not about rewarding what somebody did 5 years ago. It's about putting the strongest possible team onto the field today. Every single selection should answer one question. Does this player give England the best chance of winning? That's all that matters. Not how many runs has he scored over his career. If that's the case, we'll go and get Michael Olding out of retirement. We'll we'll go and get Brian Lara and Sachin Tendulkar, get them to get the pads on. You know, it's not how popular is he. It's not how famous is he. What gives England the best chance today is what should be being answered. That's how ruthless international sport has always been. You don't perform for the Aussies, you'll be getting the Spanish elbow. Now, if you stop asking that question, you stop improving. Personally, I think England have reached the point where they need to start planning beyond their senior players. Not because the players haven't been fantastic, but because nobody can play forever. If England wait until every senior player retires, they're going to face a huge rebuilding job all at once. And when the Aussies come over next year, we haven't got that much time to start building for that Ashes series. I'd rather see change happen gradually. You know, bring a young player in, let him learn, then another, build the next England team before the current one disappears. That's how successful sporting nations stay successful. They're always thinking 2 or 3 years ahead. They're not constantly reacting like England are. They're preparing. What did we do against New Zealand? Ben Stokes caught in a nightclub with Gus Atkinson. What do we do? Throw a couple of youngsters in there at the deep end. That's not how that should happen. It's not fair on the players that you're bringing in. You know, Sonny Baker and Fisher, they did all right, thrown in at the deep end. But it's not ideal for them, is it? I sometimes wonder whether England are doing enough of that, you know, bringing the youth through. And do they have a plan of integrating them into this England team? Because while everybody's talking about Bazball, who's talking about the next generation? Who's replacing today's stars? You know, who's learning alongside them? Who's being prepared for Australia, for India? Who's being prepared for the next World Test Championship cycle? These questions, they really matter. You know, perhaps more than anything else. Not whether who's going to be the next England captain. Will Joe Root take over kind of, you know, temporarily, or will Harry Brook get it? That's not important. No matter how good this current generation has been, it won't be around forever. You know, let's think about the Ashes. For the England supporters, there is no bigger series, is there? Every decision England make, we should have one eye on winning the Ashes back. Not just competing, but actually winning. Australia don't care about England's entertainment value. They won't care about how many boundaries England hit in an innings. They'll simply want to beat England. That is all that matters. So England, we've got to ask ourselves, what type of cricket wins Ashes series? Is it fearless attacking cricket every single day? Or is it intelligent cricket? Is it adapting to conditions? Is it knowing when to attack and when to defend? We've been over to Australia, haven't we, and tried straight away, on the front foot, from the first ball. Sometimes it works. More often than not, it fails, and now the Aussies are wise to it. They come out and they blow us away. That's all I've got to say on it anyway. We've got a lot more work to do before the Aussies come over, and we've got no time to do it in. So we'll see. We'll see how easy that is to prepare for. If we don't get rid of some of these older players now, I'm thinking of Joe Root, who's going to come in and have the time to build the spot in the England team before we take on the Aussies. Yeah, it's not gonna be easy for them. That's all. Right, I'm gonna call it anyway. Thanks to Daz Reynolds for joining me in live chat. Appreciate it as always, Daz. And answer your question, I've not seen the 50 over squad yet, but I'll be looking at it over this weekend. And I don't think there'll be too many changes, to be honest. Daz said, if Mark Wood was fit, would he be your bowlers against Pakistan? No, he wouldn't, mate. He's done now. He's absolutely he's finished pretty much with England. So no, I don't think he's fit enough. And I'm not even sure if he's called it a day or not, but he should do, because going forward once again, he's not the future. Daz said, oh, it stayed on. Cheers for that, Daz. Appreciate it. I've got loads more I want to talk about, but the stream will just keep going on and on. Yeah, I don't think Mark Wood. I think he's done now for England. The other thing I was going to say, this Sonny Baker, where he's got these fast deliveries. When they threw him in against New Zealand in that test, I felt really sorry for him. You know, he'd said beforehand, when he played for England before, he changed who he was and how he approached the game, and he was trying to be more professional and what have you. And in the end, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to be myself when I play for England now against New Zealand in this test. And you could see he was trying to play with a smile on his face. He was trying to have a bit of, be a little bit chirpy with the New Zealanders, which is good to see, bit of confidence. Don't want to overdo it, but you know, a bit of confidence. That's what you want. He's only a young lad. Is he more the future? You know, if you ask me, would I put Mark Wood in or would I put Sonny Baker in? I would put Sonny Baker in every day of the week. Looks like he can hang around with the bat. Nothing special, but he can hang around, which is always helpful. So he would be my pick. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the one-day squad is. But Harry Brook looks like he's playing well in the one-day format. Trouble is, he tries it in the Test cricket, as I keep saying. It's quick 60 or 70. The fans love it, but then he's out. When if he could get 20 and bat for 5 or 6 hours, that'd be more helpful to the team than the 70 runs. So I don't think he's got that ability to hang around. I think his natural game is attack. It's not what you need in Test cricket all the time. The Aussies will find us out, that is for sure, if we don't prepare properly for that Test series. All I've got to say is thank you to Daz once again for joining me in live chat. Always appreciate your input, mate. Really does make it a much better stream for me as well. So yeah, appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow night with the rugby. Wigan and Warrington, round 18 of the Betfred Super League. Join us for that one. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the live stream today, please hit that subscribe button, ping that notifications bell. And if I could ask you to give the content a like, YouTube loves a like apparently. It just helps to spread the word of the channel and build it up. It's still relatively new, this format of cricket. You know, we'll eventually get some spin bowlers we can put on. We're just trying to replicate what's happening with the sources, you know, the scenes that we can put out there for you. We've got the updated scoreboard, which is ideal for T20 cricket, that's for sure. They'll get better. So all that's left for me to say is, I'm going to go and get my tea now. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy this weather. Stay hydrated. I'll see you soon. Cheers, Daz. Catch you later.